otherwise we're good.
Cool.
So then, in this episode 4, we have our pundit, who's been our pundit for what 5, 6, 7 years,
Like 8 years.
But not only that, community builder for Malifaux, multiple games, right? And then Kev, you ran some tournaments for Guild Ball.
Review just so Octave can actually play in the tournament.
That's right.
Yeah.
I am the odd man, where it's like I have tried building Wrath of Kings right before they killed that game. Literally
Rip.
But
2 months.
you had some success with that. Where was yeah, we had regular turnout for Wrath of Kings.
That's true. That was the first 2 or 3 events that I ran were really, really fun, where we
Yeah.
had people from San Diego, people from LA, and then like the funniest thing was there was no prize support. So I made all the prize. I was just
I
like,
have one of your
the
medals.
medals, yeah.
So cool.
And that's where it's like building a community. It's almost like I feel like there's a duality to it, where it's like you have to shepherd the new players, but also keep the competitive players hungry. And it's like I think that's the issue that a lot of places are running into. Besides the fact that some places might just have no players at all. It might just be like 2 guys in a garage.
Yeah.
Right? We're lucky in which we have Comic Quest, or we live in a relatively like populated area where there's a bunch of nerds that even if you go to the local bar, if you're playing Guild Ball, they'll be like, what is that?
What's that?
Exactly.
Not
Yeah.
get that stuff out of here.
What are you doing here? What is that? Painting?
Keep your dungeons and your dragons, buddy.
People need your pants, son. We don't need any of that out here in our America. Well, like, what would you? So, we're running into an interesting time where we have tons of new players, and we have a lot of old veterans. And we're basically trying to see how can we, with Print on Demand being, you know, at its current, which
In its
was
state,
February 20th, right?
Yep.
In its current state, it will probably get better. 30 days, maybe 26, 22, depending on where you live. But how do you convince new players that it's worth the wait, or how do you get them product?
Yeah. Well, one thing I would point out, in not trying to make excuses, but to put this into context, all of us Guild Ball players remember the Great Drought,
Yes.
where and there were actually, if you were to argue it, there were actually a couple of droughts where Steamforge was moving from one type of material to another type of material, and they even lost product at sea. And we had basically there were long
Wet
stretches
Yes. But now,
of time where we didn't have access to the product, the brand new product. I mean,
So you're saying this is nothing new?
so well, no, I'm saying it's maybe one thing that the current Guild Ball community
Is not
is
used to.
at least aware of,
Yes.
and we've weathered, is okay. Getting product could be a little bit of a wait, and in this case, we're still going to be optimistic that, that things are going to get better, and we'll have our access to our teams again. So.
Yeah. And I think you're absolutely correct. It's like this for the old heads is nothing new.
Right.
But when you're trying to foster a community, you're like how do you do that when it's hard to get stuff?
So I mean, I think the important part is just getting out and playing where people
absolutely.
play.
Yeah.
So where people are playing 40K, where people are playing Magic, those are the types of people who are into tabletop gaming. So as long as you're getting out in there and playing, and people see the game and they're interested, they see the models. I've been going out every time we play. I bring my big bag of Guild Ball stuff just in case someone needs another guild.
Exactly.
You know, I got 5 of them. We can like throw it down. Where normally on a normal game day, I would just bring my one guild and we would play. So that's one way to do it. Is just bring more guilds, teach people how to play, get them interested, show them the website. Their website is actually not bad right now.
It's really good.
If you've gone on there, you can like see the teams, you see the sculpts, kind of gives a little rundown, and so you just pointing that what model looks cool. Order them. We'll play in the next 30 days while you wait for your models to come. You can print your own. It's a kickoff box. You know, it's just trying to get people to remain interested long enough for those, you know, that ship to come.
That's probably the single most important thing in my experience of you know, growing communities around gaming and hosting gaming. The single most important attribute of of anybody interested in that is consistent.
Yes, just seeing
Right.
people
It
play
just
non-stop, not non-stop, but
not even,
often.
but just being regular, having regular games, showing up to the same place, like just that alone is just, it's kind of the
Huge.
backbone of your community growing, of your building.
Mhm.
Because I've been around to see like at least 24 different failures of communities that grow, and the number one killer is if you're not consistent. If you can't regularly be there. You might have you might have some really you might have a really entertaining game, you might have some really passionate people. You can have all of those other pieces, but if you're not consistently out there playing the game, just playing the game,
Yeah.
like that's a foundational piece that's gonna be.
Yeah, it's still like cornerstone because you can't just be like, oh, we're all in Discord and like let's meet up for a game, and some random Tuesday maybe someone will say, yeah, sure, we'll go for a game. You know, it's showing up every Sunday, having games of Guild Ball going, people knowing that they're not going to waste their investment on a game by not having opponents, which is like that's happened to me for tons of games, and it's not fun. You know, you get super into a game, you have no one to play with, and yeah.
And I think it's like it will. In our case, we're lucky enough that we have a lot of resources, whether it's our old guilds that we can give away, or like moving forward, it's like I've been printing tons of Brewers of Aces. I have 2 full guilds already printed up. It's like I want to hit. I think we were talking about this like a couple minutes ago. I want to hit 9, where it's like 9 of each. And whenever you have like a paint day or like an open play day or anything like that, and you do a demo with someone, you can have them play that team and be like, if you like this game, you could just walk away with the team. And they're like, the one I just played with? They're like, yes, the one you just played with, you could literally just have that. And I think, especially if you got people who are into wargaming and they have the means of just playing that game like immediately, I think that's huge. And then also like one thing that a lot of games run into is price support problems. So I did talk to Jamie, and he said like they're going to come out with a kit very soon. I don't know if that's like months or half a year, but it's coming. But in the meantime, I think like one thing I was also talking about is like this is a sized up Lucky, right? Not necessarily your main prize support, but let's say best captain, or like best painted, or something like that. Like you can also size up the mascots, and do stuff like that. So like you can get your prize support, you can get people interested in stuff. It does require you to have printing capabilities, some resources. But like it's a lot of nerds or people in your community probably already have it, and like this cost me 25 cents. Right, and it's like if you have someone that you know with a 3D printer willing to print, and you just toss them like a 20, right, you have a tons of price support. And so it's like that can satiate the competitive side of the community, and then also you can bring in the new heads with either opening up your old archive of minis, or just bringing an extra guild with you, so whenever people are just around, they can get a demo in. That will keep them satiated until they can get their POD. And it's the POD is such a good price. Like
it is compared to like the resin. It's like half the cost of their resin teams. Like a minor, those are like $80-$90.
Yeah, these are $80.
That exactly right there. Yeah,
you know, now they're 40 or 35.
And you can buy a whole guild for like 100. You can get everything: the bench pieces, the 2 full guild captains, like squads. It's like it's hard not to, because someone's playing 40K right now and being like, "This is the Christmas special, man," and their Christmas deals are like 240. So it's
for a quarter of a faction. Like a quarter of what you need to play a full size game.
And so like, well, I guess we can either open up with how do you think we should like build the community for the players, for example, who are newer. If you put them against the veterans are hungry enough because the game's been on for so long. It's like, how do we?
One thing that I thought like could be interesting is if we did like seasonal play. Like the game is a sports game. It lends itself to like a very fluffy seasonal play.
True.
Whereas like you play 10 games in a season, there's a tournament at the end of the season, how well you did in those 10 games seeds you in that tournament. And then you don't have to go to like an event day where someone gets paired up with like a veteran and they just totally smash them. And then you're down like the rest of the day because you got so smashed. I think that could be really cool. Where there's like maybe a lower bracket or a higher bracket where you get placed based on how you did on that seasonal play. I think that would be fun. Just kind of like some events that foster interaction between veterans and new people to like help other people learn the game, but put new people against new people in more competitive environments so they're not just getting smashed.
And I think also it's like if you have guilds, some guilds are way easier to play into than others, especially for new players. I think Tapper Brewers is really cagey. It does not feel good to new or veterans, new players or veterans. And I think there's some guilds that if you're doing demos or if you're trying to like foster the community, like I think farmers, fantastic. Shepherds too, just because it's like there's a lot of funny things you can do with shepherds where it's like I will kill my own model and then your opponent will be like, what? Why would you do that? But it opens their mind. It opens. And then it's funny because it's like it doesn't feel bad. You're like, you just like, why would you do that, right? And then you can explain why. It's like, well, it already activated, and because it already activated, it doesn't do anything for me. And it's like, but if I take it out with my legendary play, I now gain these buffs, and it gets their mind rolling, and also 0 armor, so it allows the opponent to get happy fun times pretty much whenever they want. And so I think it's like if you go farmers, shepherds, is there any other guilds that you would say maybe stay away from the new players and or play into new players? Any sort of thing that comes to mind?
Some of the heavy control, those are pretty bad to go into. Unless you have no plan whatsoever. But generally, people that are playing heavy control guilds, like that,
they've got
bad. They've got it figured out. They know what the opponent's gonna do, and it's very hard to kind of dial that back.
Yeah, definitely. I think just not denying someone from doing something that they want to do. Like I just seeing new players play. Like you load up a model with full influence. And they go into someone, don't like just double push them out, kind of
unpredictable movement.
Oh yeah. Like, those like gotchas, like you just don't want to play like unpredictable counter charge, some brutal, counter attacks.
I think Honor Mason as well. Great one to play into because it shows you the synergies working on the other side.
But also there's also the people component to this.
Yes,
right,
for sure.
The veterans, I think the goal of any community is for the veteran players is to surround themselves around players that are actively pursuing improvement of their skill. And for the veteran players, they shoulder that responsibility of helping educate those new players and making that part of their goal. As well.
Absolutely.
It's it's probably one of the blessings of the Guild Ball community is unlike other wargaming communities where you walk in and that guy's just trying to collect a W and he tells you nothing and just stomps you. This community is blessed with having some of the most skilled players also being some of the friendliest, most inviting players that actually they're going to walk you through things that are happening in the game. They're going to explain things like, oh, don't charge this guy because he has unpredictable movement. Watch out for this guy's got Rush Keeper. Look out for things like counter charge. So you can, to counter what we just said, you can play some of those guilds with the understanding of I'm going to educate this person of like everything that could possibly happen, and maybe even advise like here's probably a better course of action when they say they want to do something. So like Guild Ball right now is filled with a lot of experienced players, a lot of friendly players. The Guild Ball community is amazing. It's part of the reason why we're all here. We wanted to stay in this community. These guys still, like I said, went to Michael's wedding. He's our, he was a Guild Ball player, and that's really how a lot of us bonded. And so we have that really strong bond, but part of that is continuing to foster that attitude among the new players. Like, okay, yeah, you're starting to get better. You're starting to collect some wins. But don't forget, turn around and like bring other people. You're going to want to keep bringing people into the game. And a lot of that is just based on, hey, let's make that part of your goal.
And it should be, because it's like the more talent you bring, the sharper your tools will get
Yeah.
in the grand scheme of things. Because it's like, let's say you pay in the meta with no NG players. Now you got an NG player and he starts getting good. This is a new puzzle that I need to solve. If you play a tournament somewhere else, there might be 5 engineer players, and it's like it is self-fulfilling.
Exactly. Like it's chasing that high, you know. When we're first playing Guild Ball, we're learning all the tricks. That's so cool. That's so fun.
Exactly.
You know, you want to be playing against opponents who are better than you, so that you keep getting better at the game. Those are the games that are most fun. You know, I want to play against people who are better than me, and so I'm trying to teach people to be better than me. You know, like that's exactly the cornerstone of Guild Ball of growing the community. You want them to be good, so you can have fun, competitive games.
Exactly.
And for whatever reason, I think that is something that I think we're sort of blessed with, especially our local community. Like we kind of foster this idea that if we have new people that are showing up to one of our events or tournaments, like we go the extra mile to make it hospitable for them. We don't want to like we don't try to shut people out and say, oh look, I'm gonna just match up against that new guy, collect my win,
Not at all,
and be out of here. Basically, it's the pundit of this. It's for me. It's I can't in any state accept all of the credit for having such a hospitable community. It's really in all of the players. We could go back 5-6 years and I can name maybe 1, maybe 2 players that would show up to events thinking only of what am I going to get from this event? What's the price report look like? Where's my perks? There's maybe 1 or 2 players. Top to bottom, our community was about, oh, hey, we got a new guy. Cool. What are they playing?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, let's talk about it. Like,
Yeah.
what do you like to play?
Yeah.
Like, there was so many times we would end an event, like a 3-round event, like at 6 p.m. You would be there till 10 p.m. just talking.
Yeah.
Guild Ball.
Yeah.
We just wanted to talk Guild Ball, talk about, you know, what models they like to take, why do they like to take them, and like this is why I love just sitting down and talking Guild Ball with you guys. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
We love to do it.
And you're trying to you want to forge that identity for your meta so that, you know, we've had people, you know, travel in, go, man, I want to play those SoCal guys. Those guys are super cool. So that's part of it, right? Just kind of having this communal feeling of this is who we want to be. This is how we want to be perceived as our community. The other thing that's really cool, branding is really cool. Okay, having your merch or your swag or things that are associated, and the Guild Ball community again does this very well. You have dice. I've got dice from like 4 or 5 different communities of Guild Ball throughout the country, maybe even some overseas. We have our own SoCal Guild Ball merch, which I'm happy to pass out at our events. We love that. But that gives like a new player coming in, it's like, man, these guys are really
got some swag. You know?
And I walked away and I got these cool steppers and I got widgets. And it's branded.
Yes.
That tells the player like, hey, these guys they're committed, they're passionate. Yeah. This game they're not just gonna get up and leave.
True.
True.
And so that's another part, like it's one of those like intangible things that we kind of naturally do well, but I think we take for granted.
Yes. And I think that just to like kind of piggyback on that, where it's like there has to be, especially in Guild Ball, in my opinion, at this fragile time where it's like it's just blossoming, right? I think the more you give, the more you will get at.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's like if you got a 3D printer, printing out those guilds to like help the community just get something on the table, or if you got an extra guild or any means of showing people like, hey, I saw, like, for example, I did the video, and it was like, look, there's this dude out in LA, he's got this whole list of stuff he's selling, limited edition models, full teams for like cheap, right? Like, or you could point them to eBay or like and be like, oh, this is a good 6. And like, look, I found this eBay lot, and this dude's selling it out of like a local area, right? And it's like, you can build a team relatively easily at this point, I think.
Yeah.
Just with the resources around you, eBay or Discord or like community lots, people who are just selling an extra faction.
Yeah.
And I think it's like, I've seen people give away whole painted guilds, or not give away, but like, you know, sell for very cheap.
Yeah.
Just to get a player in.
Absolutely. I've done that so many times.
I think that's humongous, because that can get someone who could be, you know, the next, you know, Alex Bots or whatever, right? Alex Bots, or like that could be someone in your community that's a cornerstone or a pillar, and it's like just giving and not necessarily wanting anything in return, but it's like it's the fact that it's like giving the widgets, giving the branded stuff, or like showing that you're welcoming in a way that goes above and beyond. I think could be huge, especially at this point where it's like POD's a little slow.
I've given away guilds and said you need to play 5 learning games with me and I'll give you this guild. Like, I just want you to play games. Like, just come out and play with us.
And Kevin, along those lines, do you, when you're playing those learning games, are you looking for something specific to happen in those learning games?
Ooh,
Because I am, but I want to hear
like when I'm teaching someone and I'm looking for something specific, I'm looking to like go into a mod. I'm looking to make the mistakes for him. Like, this is a mistake. I would, move this model and I'm gonna buy an attack. Are you gonna counterattack because you have this push dodge and that will get me out? And so I'm trying to like make the mistakes that my opponent might make against another person, and just to show them like, oh, and then I have dead influence. Like those are the kinds of things. Or now look it, I moved here and marbles can countercharge me. You know, like those. I'm trying to show him how to use the gotchas against me so that he learns not to do it against other people. So that's like what I'm doing.
I'm looking for something really specific when I'm teaching people games, but specifically Guild Ball, because Guild Ball it's such a locked-in game.
You gotta get them to rap, because like that is like such a cornerstone of this game is the playbook.
In more general terms, what I look for is I look for that moment that I think pretty much all players have when they're exploring the options in the game and they're playing a game, and suddenly you can almost see it. You can see it in their head, like something clicks down. And suddenly they're engaged. And it's like, oh, I get this now. Okay, now I know I can start to look at this game in terms of the angles and the system. And then they're just as fanatical as the rest of us, right? I'm typically waiting for that. Or
you're saying we're drug dealers.
I'm looking for them to hit that high. It could be a wrap. It could be a wrap. It could be a goal run that they've unlocked themselves after you've taught them a couple of different things, and they're like, wait, I can do this. Oh, I can move over here, and then suddenly I've got a goal. And when they lock in like that,
then you got them.
Then you got them. But that's the engagement that you're looking for when you're bringing new players in the game. And I think for us that have played all of these different war games, it never quite hit the thing. It doesn't. You lock in here,
this is it.
Wait, I'm playing this for a long time. Right? So,
and it's just it's interesting because there's like a micro and a macro portion of this game, where it's like the micro being just the individual nature of your models and your minis, right? And that's in almost every war game, right? Whether it's like my faith for me, or my death marshal, or whatever you want to call it, it's like it does X, right? But I think Guild Ball does macro better than any other game, because it's like it is always the same objective of score 12 VP, right? Every other war game has, oh, well, you gotta do like, you gotta control 3 points. Oh, then the next game is, you gotta do insert thing here, or like 2 of the thingies disappear, and then next year a new book comes out and half of those things are gone. But it's insane to see that Guild Ball has kept the same recipe, macro recipe, but the way that you solve that puzzle is so vastly different to, I have more people standing on something. Right? Or it's like there's ways where it's like that spark and that click comes from the fact that it's like they figured out the macro, the bigger picture of the game, right? Instead of like, so Stave throws barrel. And people get knocked down. Yes. You're like, yes. But once you figure out like Stave can hit a free ball with a barrel.
I
push it.
I equate it kind of like this. It's like when people who play War Machine, when you go on that kill run, that assassination attempt, and you're like, you figuring it all out and you're moving it around, you do that every activation in this game. You're just trying to figure out what you're trying to do and how you make that goal accomplish. It's so much fun. It's so engaging. It's so and it's so simple at its core, which is like brilliant.
And so it's like, I guess talking more like community based, what topics would you guys like to open up? as far as like community?
I would say, something that we were definitely planning on doing before COVID is I think once you've established like a community like we have, you gotta go travel.
Yes.
You gotta go join other communities, or no one's gonna come join yours. No one's gonna come to your events unless you're trying to get yourself out there and do the same. So like pre-COVID, Octave and I, we were gonna go to the
we
team.
had the plan.
We were gonna go to WTC and like we had a team. We were set. We had our tickets and.
We got our fancy widgets from Michael.
Shout out to Michael, and it just didn't happen. And so I have more responsibilities like in my personal life now, but I'm still so pumped to like find a tournament out there in the wild and like jump on a plane and go play some Guild Ball with people that I don't know. And I think that's super important. And then take your swag with you. Tell people, hey, we're gonna have a tournament out in March or May, and
like the percussion.
It's in a couple weeks.
Yes, sir. So what would you like to say about like Kingdom Cup or our
the
huge events that we
so the Kingdom Cup is our it was our annual
culmination,
our big tournament, right? And it originally came from Kingdom Con, which was a gaming tournament a gaming convention in San Diego.
Yes.
Where we would host Guild Ball. And so the Kingdom Cup was a regular part of that convention. When the convention ended, we continued on the tradition here in Southern California. It became a thing with the cups, and the cups all have different lore to them.
Yes, sir.
We're not going to bore you with that. I'll do separate videos on my channel about that. But it is like kind of the yearly big event for us. And we have had regular travelers come down to play, and just experience what it's like here in Southern California, and get to play our really cool, awesome community. And yeah, it's a good time. I hope that we see people out in May. It used to be in April, but now it's May. It was like that culmination tournament. We just kind of recombined it back to what it was. So we've got the Kingdom Cup in May, which is going to be awesome. But we also have kind of a lore before the tournament, which is the Precursor Cup, which was typically thrown a month or two in advance. The Kingdom Cup,
or sometimes the day before.
Or sometimes, it just depends on the year and what kind of planning time I have. But originally, it was just designed as this is kind of a short pickup tournament for people to get ready for the big event. And so I'll point out something really quickly here, because we have a Kingdom Cup winner. We have two Kingdom Cup winners. If you look at the Kingdom Cups, they are absolutely beautiful. They're usually pewter or I think they can be brass or stainless. They're just awesome cups. The Precursor Cup was originally just supposed to be a placeholder. So I found this cup on eBay for like $10. Right? That was the idea. It's like you're just gonna get this beat up cup, or you're gonna get it's something perishable. So it's gonna be like copper, which is gonna tarnish, or it can be glass or ceramic or something like that. You have Precursor like ceramic.
Yeah, I do. I have one. Yeah, I have a mug. That has SoCal Guild Ball on it.
Yeah. And that's all it was originally, but it's kind of developing its own lore.
Yes.
The funny thing about the original Precursor Cup was, I was in that tournament playing that day just to fill another spot, and I was doing particularly well. Just kind of on accident. I'm just like, okay, I'm just kind of playing well. I have this like $10 copper mug. I was gonna get it engraved anyway, but as part of the thing as a host is like, your natural inclination is, I'm just gonna throw a game. I'm just gonna let those guys win, let them battle it out. But Kevin was there that day,
not playing. Yeah.
And he didn't have time to play, but he saw that I was doing well, and I was like, I'm just gonna drop for the final round.
What did I say? I said, hell no!
You're like, no, you can't do that. And that is actually something kind of unique to Guild Ball, is in a way, you're being kind of not a good host if you aren't providing sufficient challenge.
Exactly.
For your community.
Yes.
Right. If I'm in the field and I'm like, hey, I'll take a lock here or a buy here or whatever, that's one thing. But that particular day, people wanted to gear up for the big event.
That's right.
So I'm like, okay, you want to be part of the
Let's
big
throw
event?
down, yeah.
You have to get past me,
Yes, sir.
right? And that day they did not get past me. So that's where this became. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take this beat up thing and I'm gonna engrave it, and I'm gonna make this the Judges Cup.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be a separate cup. We're still gonna do the Precursor Cup, but that one's mine.
Yeah.
And it gets, and you can see it gets tarnished and it gets beat up. But to me, that's part of the lore too. It's like, well, if I'm gonna be a judge, I have to polish. Right? I have to.
Oh,
I have
that's
to
cool.
maintain
You
it.
have to be.
I
Yeah.
have to,
You have to know the game.
A Kingdom Cup is forever.
Yeah.
Right? There will always be a Kingdom Cup. I could lose this. This could end up getting perished, like this
that would
could
be
perish
cool.
or whatever. That's kind of the lore of the Precursor, which is kind of cool. Is this?
I would say too. We were having tournaments once a month.
Yes.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
every single month. The Precursor was like, it was still like a little ramped up.
Yep.
And then Kingdom Cup was like super ramped up. It was just like this curve where we were just like, at our typical tournaments, we try like different guilds every single tournament because we had one event a month. And then the other one was like, all right, get your game face on, get the guild out you're gonna
Yep.
play.
And break out the fine
And-
china.
and yeah,
Here we go.
yeah.
We're gonna do. Yep.
Super fun. Great time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and it's like I'm gonna put the links to both of the Longshanks in the description so people could just. I'm putting them, I think, in pretty much every description. But
And are we capped at 16 players, or if we wanted to go more? Like, if there was interest.
Technically, we could go more.
If there was interest.
If we push, if we push past the ceiling, then yes, we can
Yeah.
open it up.
So right now it says 16. If there's enough, engagement, maybe we'll open it up.
We'll,
we can
we'll
we can
encourage
look at
you
that.
guys.
Yeah.
Look at that approaching 16. Going, you know what? I could push this into the next tier if
Yeah,
I sign
yeah.
up. So
For sure.
that's right.
We'll make it happen.
Oh. Yeah, and it,
Slash Octave. We'll go.
we'll find a way. We'll be playing in the parking lot at night. It's fine.
Yeah.
We'll make it work.
oh my god. Well, I think that would actually be awesome because it wasn't one year we had like
We had 28,
we had 28
signups, and I think 23 people played.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was in San Diego. That was
Yep.
at the con. Yeah.
Oh, that was such
was
a crazy
the-
day.
Andrew beat me in the final.
You guys had the best game.
Yeah. I don't even remember. I feel like it wasn't that great of a game. From what
it was a great game because
Was it?
you had control of that game to a point, and there is a specific moment.
Did I make a
I'm sure
mistake?
Andrew
Was it-
remembers.
I hit record. There was record. Was
Yeah.
too far out.
And Andrew just tilted that, and I'm like, Kevin's gonna win this game. Kevin's not gonna win this game.
Dude, all I remember is like Andrew and I, we just have like these fun, super fun games, and we sat down at that table and we were like, okay.
Yeah, no, we were like
We were just like game face. I think we each had like 30 minutes left
Yeah,
on our
we had
clock
so
by the
much
time the game was ended. We were like locked in.
Yeah.
That was super fun.
I remember it was like Wrecker was just left in Tapper's range, and I was like,
Yep.
I just remember I had to receive, and I was so sad about it because I feel like I can't get around Andrew's kick, and it still
the
got
other
me.
funny thing too is you couldn't read Andrew because he was hungover. He was on the table like this, but I knew you were looking at that. I'm like, oh no.
Dude, oh my god.
I think Corbelli had just come out, but his model wasn't readily available yet, and he was broken disgusting. And I was like, if I could just get my hand on this model, no one will touch me. Like, that's what I was like thinking, and I couldn't find it, but that would have been super fun if I would have had Corbelli at that tournament.
But even beyond that, like those Kingdom Cup games, no matter if you walk away with a cup or not,
oh, so much fun.
people remember
Yeah.
Do you
their games. They
remember?
remember.
Yeah, Regan versus I can't remember his name.
He
but
was
it
in. He's from the Seattle meta.
Yes. It was
Oh yeah.
Regan versus
Shoot, I'm
Yeah.
separate from that guy. Forget.
Yes,
I
he's
feel
so-
so bad. I'm sorry.
Butchers, Fishers,
It was
or
Bushers
Navs?
versus Navigator.
Yeah.
It was one of the two.
It
Yeah,
was.
it was gnarly.
They both had less than a minute on clock.
Yeah.
And it was like I think
It
it
was
was
a nail biter.
11 to 12.
Yeah.
And I remember Regan standing up and slapping the wall.
Yeah. Yep.
I remember we were all everyone was around. It was the final round. I think it was between like third or fourth place. It was like it made a difference,
Yeah.
and everyone was like pumped.
It
It was
made a
so
difference
cool.
because also on the like 2 tables over, Chris Wynn
Yes, Chris
was
won.
he was
Yeah.
playing spoiler, and he, Chris is a super nice, super chill guy,
Yeah.
and he's usually playing kind of the middle field there, but he was playing
He was
spoiler
on
that
it.
day.
He was on it. Yeah.
And I was like, what happened? I'm looking at all my friends in our community.
Yeah.
When everybody tuned it up for that day,
That
it
was
was
sick.
wild.
That was
It
sick.
wild.
It was so many insane games that day.
Yep.
And like I remember I think it was my second game. I was against Falcons or
Mhm.
Falconers, and I was like, these motherfuckers got my number. And I'm like, my dice were cool. I was like, oh god.
Yeah, I was worried for you that day.
Yeah, I was.
We had
I
done,
think I met Michael
we
at
had
that
done our
tournament,
share of
too.
drinking.
Yes. And I was like, I felt so bad because there was one dude who was like super nice. He was playing butchers, and he was like, "Oh, I'm sober," and I was like, cracked open to Bud Light, and I was like, "Oh, sorry." And then I was like,
The day before we did the precursor cup tournament,
yeah.
and like we were in the finals, and then like after a full day of playing Guild Ball, we were like playing board games until like 2 a.m.
yeah, and we were playing the
And,
game
like-
with the hammer where you would knock the peg.
Oh,
down.
Yeah, and we were just drinking, having fun, and then we all had to wake up early and play some more games. But yeah, that was so much fun. Yeah.
Great convention.
Great convention.
Yeah.
So for community building, that's your goal.
Yeah.
You want to have stories like that. You
Yeah.
want to pass things on. You want to have a little lore behind your stuff. You want to have product available. Yeah.
And there's be welcoming.
Yeah.
Yes, humongous consistency, welcoming,
Consistency, yeah.
giving more than you expect to get. But I mean, if you,
You get way more. You get way more. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like I think that's probably the best. Also, and also if you can pump out content.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can make
That's
a
my.
YouTube-
I need to
try it.
do
You
that.
can try it.
There were a lot of. Not a lot, but there were some
Reports.
people on Discord asking me, "Can you please put out some
battle
more
reports?
We're gonna do some more battle
match
reports for
Yes.
sure.
Yeah,
I apologize for my play on the early ones. They're not going to be shaking the rust off.
yeah. But those battle reports where they were like condensed 30 minutes.
Yep.
Fantastic
Yeah.
content, amazing content with
Yeah.
the voiceover where you explained why
What we're trying to do.
what
why-
we were
yep,
trying to
yep.
do from that macro perspective is just humongous. And I think that like if you do any content, because I think battle reports especially because that's what the community has been craving
Mhm.
for a while, and it also does show that consistency to new players where it's like, wait, people are making battle reports, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and it's like that and any sort of tactical video for the newer players. I think it's humongous.
Yeah, you've been doing all the
Yeah, those
tactical
tactical-
videos.
I've written down another one right there.
I'm trying to read this how to win. I need to win. I want to win that.
Well,
Down
because
there.
the idea was like, dude, I'm trying to open the mind to don't just get locked into, oh well, my captain does this. It's like, well, how does your captain get you to your 3-0 or
Yep.
your 2-2? Or what's your game plan going into the game? And it's like, where can you flex when you need to flex, right?
Mhm.
It's like kind of giving those to the
But
new
even
players.
like you were explaining Reach and the benefits of it.
Yeah.
We take that for granted.
Yeah.
Like experienced
Yeah.
players, we like
Yeah, we
of
made
course,
that
Andrew,
video.
You can do that.
Yeah.
But like a brand new player, it's like,
Yeah.
whoa, that's the difference between 1 inch and 2 inch.
Yes.
That's insane.
And we were watching someone play who were teaching how to play Guild Ball right now, and we just had to keep saying, "Oh no, he's got 2 inches." Like you just want to like pull it back a little more, or keep trying to do it. And I was like, Andrew, you should make a video where just like
Yeah.
talk about
Mhm.
the importance of that extra inch.
And people that it
That
always
extra
matters.
inch,
That
it always
extra
matters,
inch,
yeah.
It always matters. But there's also a lot of people are hungering for opening plays. So
Mhm.
I dropped that free bar where it's basically
Sure,
just
sure,
the free guild and how you can play it in first turn. Because I think for a lot of new players, they got that choice paralysis.
That would be a really cool if we wanted to do like let's call it like a 30-minute almost semi-live video.
Yeah.
I think what would be cool is just a kickoff and a turn 1
Exactly.
and both players explain, here's what I'm trying to do, turn 1, here's what, and then the other player would explain
Yes.
here's what I'm trying to do, turn 1. That would be
Humongous.
huge.
That's what I was like, we keep the tactical videos, like the basic stuff for the new players, and then you got extra like that opening sauce where it's like,
I would love
Yeah.
to do like chess problems, but Guild Ball problems.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
You have
That-
one activation, and I feel like there was some
There was
content
that
used to do that
There was
too.
like a podcast.
Yeah, that we used to do that, but I thought it was so
What's the-
interesting.
what's the
And like we have like a hidden scenario, Octave comes in, he's like, "Oh, this is what I would do," and then we have Andrew come in, he's like, "Oh, I would activate and do it." And I would love to see
Yeah.
the difference in
difference
how
in approach.
and how we think about
That's
that.
actually
That would be super
that'd
fun.
Be super fun.
and I think that'd be cool. It's like battle reports, tactical videos, like even basic videos, opening plays, all that stuff. Like because in chess, your first couple moves, and same in Guild Ball, your turn 1 pretty much sets the pace for the game. If you're a 3-0 and you make 2 goals, it's like,
Oh yeah,
You
the
know?
first turn. Yeah.
It's like, come on, man. So I think, especially for the newer players and even the experienced players who might not see how some brewer tech works or some Mesa tech or, you know, maybe NG tech or something like that,
Yep.
or Alchemist, because there are some guilds that don't see as much love in metas as you would think. Like people are like, you guys got Mortician players? And we're like,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like, so I think that would be really cool. Battle reports first, I think, because so many people are hungry.
Yes.
So
We need to do some battle report, and it lets us play a game too. While we're we just want to play some
The
games.
nice thing about the sped up format is you just play the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not stopping
Mhm.
to explain, and then afterwards you will usually go back and say, okay, here's what we were trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a nice format.
Yeah, fantastic.
Cool.
Anything else you guys would like to say, maybe in closing thoughts on like community in general or Guild Ball as a whole? Any roses, any thorns type of deal?
I just think what we were talking about at the beginning of this,
Mhm.
of the difference between the experienced players and trying to get new players in, it's just cool in
Yes.
this game. And and as Guild Ball, we are Guild Ball fanatics. If you're playing Guild Ball and you are experienced Guild Ball player, guess what? You are level fanatic. There's no, you're not a casual. And so we sometimes lose sight of
For sure.
what it was like
Yes.
to be a casual.
Yeah.
To be like, oh man, that's really cool. And what, don't like, so sometimes pull yourself out of that situation and go, okay, I'm brand new again.
Yep.
And you're just trying to help walk people through those steps so that they get something clicks in their brain and then they're just as nuts as you are.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
That's the
For
great.
sure, dude. I was like teaching someone. I was like, oh, and you can do these dodges, and you can go here. He's like, how much does influence does it cost to You're like, you're right. I gotta dial it back.
And I think that's the duality that
Yeah.
most Guild Ball communities are going to face if they have player base. I mean, the other one is they have.
Yeah, starting from scratch.
Yes.
And that's a tough spot.
It is
Yeah.
tough.
But you can do it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's again, it's I'll just say like here, you know, based on my experience with like hosting communities and stuff, that's my actual hobby, right? Guild Ball is my favorite tool of choice. It will always be that, but my hobby is really just building and growing communities because that's what I get the most, and that's usually my goal. But if you're just brand new and you're starting, that at least to some degree that has to be part of your goal.
Yes.
Watching like a newer player become dominant at Guild Ball is super awesome. Especially like when you were part of that formative like first few games and then they're like smashing it, you're like, damn, that's awesome.
Created a monster.
I created a monster.
What have I
done?
It's crazy because I think our community for a time was maybe 4 people.
Yeah,
Right, it
we
was-
started off. Yep.
It was
It was
us
us and
three
Cody.
and Cody,
Yep.
and that was it.
I
For a
mean,
while.
I think you had a few people who played, but it wasn't like this regular thing. And then, you know,
Yeah. But yeah, there were people. Well, I had people that were playing other people that I played with,
Yeah.
and then we just like,
you're like, all right, everyone, this is it. This is the game we're playing. Like,
Yeah, and it's like I think to the people who are out there who are like, oh, how am I supposed to get these like 16 people, 20 plus tournament tournament? Like, because they're looking at us, and they're like, you
Yeah.
have a lot of players. Because I was actually talking in the Discord. I was like, yeah, we got 16 players, but I want to make it more. And the guy was like, you're doing great.
yeah.
But if you can just get a core handful that play consistently at a game store or wherever people can see that you're playing, where nerd things happen, then you can build.
I would say this game is just so good. It's so easy to draw people in because it's such a great game.
another thing
Yeah.
too, that we have going for us now. We'll call it the second time around. Is Guild Ball developed a mystique
Yes.
while it was gone,
Yeah.
and so even to this day when we're playing, people walk by and like,
Oh.
hey, that's Guild Ball.
Yeah.
I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Like that. And the coolest thing that I stumbled across the other day, not the coolest, but one of the coolest things was finding somebody else's channel that was like Guild Ball's dead, and they referenced my channel.
Yeah.
Man, people are still researching.
Yes.
I made that video like 4 years
I
ago.
still think Octane needs to make a post with more to that video.
I didn't even do that. I do need to do that.
Oh my goodness. And yeah, anything else you guys want to talk about? Open floor, whether it's community or just Guild Ball, anything.
Come join our tournament.
Yeah, March 3rd and May 18th, right? Yeah. Those are
Yeah,
the 2
one
days.
is literally like what, 2 weeks away?
2 weeks away.
Yeah.
You can do it.
You can do
Let's
it.
do it. Pre-errata.
We'll loan you a guild too if you show up
Yeah.
and you decide you just want to play.
Yeah.
And all right. Thank you guys for coming through. Thank you, Octave.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks, Octave.
Yeah. And any plug you would like to put, like, for your channel or
You know, that was
maybe
the fun.
play it played.
Yeah, you can go to the meeting if you want to watch the, you know.
also will be in the
format.
description.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. And so we got 4 episodes in the tank already.
Nice.
And then
more down.
We'll get some more down. Thank you guys for coming.
Cool. Yeah, thanks
and
for having me.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you guys.
Bye.